I recently went to a wee little place called Krakow in Poland, and I had a dandy old time. I already made another video talking about my other experiences I had over there, like going to the salt mines and shooting a gun for the first time and going to the shooting range for the first time. So if you're interested in seeing the other shenanigans I got up to over there, go check that video out at the end of this, of course. Don't be hasty now, but I felt like this topic deserved its own separate video given the subject matter, and if you read the title, we are going to be talking about my trip to Auschwitz, which I know a lot of you are shaking in your boots right now. Auschwitz and concentration camps in general have always been a very sensitive topic, because of course it is. So if you're somebody who doesn't like somebody joking while talking about such a serious topic, leave now. I'm not going to be joking about the concentration camp itself and all of that stuff, but I am going to be saying some jokes here and there, kind of to keep it a bit lighthearted, because it is depressing. It is barbaric, bro. But I am going to be showing video footage of inside the camp, so if that's something you can't handle, then click off now. But when I walked into this place, man, I was not ready for the emotions I was going to be filled with, so I could only imagine what like a Jewish person or any of those types of people that were prosecuted could feel like. The first camp that we went to isn't like the ones that you see in all the famous pictures of like the railway track going under the arch. That is a completely separate part of Auschwitz, and that is what everyone thinks of when they think of Auschwitz. So I was very surprised when we went in and there was these like big buildings on all sides. It felt like I was walking into a university or something. But the first thing we're greeted with is the gate that says work will set you free. Because one thing I learned on this trip that I really did not know beforehand were that these camps were being promoted by the Germans to be a work camp. You go, you work there, you earn money, blah 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 blah. Kind of like a little summer camp type of thing, you know, a little bit quirky. And they were so successful with this propaganda to the point that some people actually paid for tickets to go to their death. But the first hallway we walked down, that was really giving me a taste of what I was in store for, because as I said, nothing could have prepared me for this feeling, man. We walked down this long hallway that kind of reminded me of like a hospital ward in a way, and these were the places where some people slept. You were able to look in at the doors, like in the windows, and you were able to see like hay and stuff on the floor from where they slept. They had like uniforms that were actually worn by people up on the fucking like cabinets and stuff like that. It was so surreal, man. On either side of the wall there were hundreds of pictures of people that were in these camps, and I was walking down looking at these pictures and I was so saddened to see it, man. It is so depressing seeing like the faces of the people that were killed in here. See what I mean about how I'm gonna have to make jokes a little bit? It's depressing, man. But weirdly enough, right, when we were walking through this camp, going into these buildings where people died and all of that stuff was my only form of salvation. That might sound fucking outrageous, but hear me out. On that day that we went to Auschwitz, it was about 25 to 29 degrees Celsius. I am a wee little Irish boy. I have never felt the warm embrace of the sun in my life, and there was a lot of walking. The thing lasted like 5-6 hours, so there was a lot of walking, so I was being boiled a fucking live. And going into these buildings was the only shade that we really had. But bro, when we were walking through these camps, man, there was just such an eerie feeling, because in the back of your mind you know so many people lost their lives here. And then we walked past this courtyard, which fucking hell, when you walk by there, even before he said it to us, you feel so weird. You walk by and I just felt like this weird like heaviness on my chest, you know. It was so strange. But basically the place that I'm talking about is like this wall in like a random sectioned off courtyard where so many people were shot and executed against the wall. And I can't remember if it was in the same courtyard or if it was a different one. It's kind of like merged together. In the courtyard there was these posts that they used to hang up the prisoners onto, and I don't mean like, you know, your typical hanging where you die. These barbaric bastards, man. Oh, I can't even stress how fucking evil these people are. Obviously we know how evil they are to an extent, but when you actually witness and hear about all the shit that they have done, and you are in the place where it happened and see the pictures and see all of this evidence of this stuff, it is fucking evil, bro. I'm getting emotional. We have to calm down a little bit here, boys. They used to get their arms, tie them behind their back, and they would hang them from their wrists on these posts, causing their shoulders to dislocate. So like their arms were fully backwards over their fucking head, and they left them there for hours, even days sometimes. After they were taken down from these posts, given the fact that their shoulders have been turned at a 360 degree fucking angle, they weren't able to work. Their shoulders and arms were not in operation at this point, and because of this, they were executed, because they were useless to the camp if they couldn't work. But yeah, no, it's fucking wild. But weirdly enough, you know, I think we went at the worst time to go and visit Auschwitz, man. It was probably the worst time, because you see all the pictures of it, and it's so bleak, and it's so, like, especially the ones when it's snowing, it's real bleak and creepy and eerie. But when we went, it was one of the nicest days of the year. The place looked fabulous. The sun was beaming in through the windows and stuff, so that might have impacted our feelings towards everything, I guess. But I'm not going to be talking about the entire tour in this video because I think that might be illegal. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to ruin the experience for you guys also if you are interested in going over. Right, so the next thing I'm going to talk about is like something that really put it into perspective for me about how many people lost their lives in this place. Because you hear such a big number, like 6 million or whatever the fuck, and you can't comprehend how many people that really is. 2 specific rooms actually, and one of them we weren't allowed to take pictures of, and you will understand why when I tell you. It was easily, and I mean easily, the worst thing I seen there, and we literally walked through a gas chamber. But before that, I want to talk about the shoes, because fuck me, man. But we walked into this room and there was just thousands of pairs of shoes in this room. It was like a little corridor, and on the left and the right side of the room there was like displays of these thousands of fucking shoes. Absolutely wild. And the next room was a very similar thing to the shoes, but we weren't allowed to take pictures of it for obvious reasons, because what it was fucking hair. Tons and tons and tons of hair. Actual human hair from the actual prisoners that were there, because they used everything from their prisoners to like somehow make something. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if I heard incorrectly, so don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they used the hair to make Zyklon B, which was the gas that they used to kill them in the gas chambers. And when I say there was a lot of hair, I mean, like, remember the video of the shoes, how many shoes there were? Just replace the shoes with hair. That's all. That is exactly what I saw. But yeah, it was so crazy, man. And there was literally like one shoe that actually made me nearly cry. So I have the picture on screen. It's such a small shoe, and then right beside it they have like a jacket of like a little girl, which was fucking devastating. Like, those are the 2 things that really upset me, because he was telling us in that moment, he was like, oh, 1 in 5 people that died at the concentration camps was a child. It's so fucking depressing. But yeah, now to talk about like the most famous part of Auschwitz, which, as I said, was the train track. We basically walked under that arch that like was on the train track, and afterwards he told us that the name of it was the Arch of Death, and he should have told me before I walked through the fucking thing. But actually, before I keep talking about this camp, I do want to talk about the gas chamber that we walked through, and you will be warned, it is kind of creepy. It is the only last standing gas chamber in Auschwitz, because the other 2 big, the main fucking gas chambers, were blown up by the Nazis at the end of the war to avoid them being discovered. But like, walking through this chamber was probably the most surreal experience of the whole thing, because you know for a 100% fact that thousands of people at a time were killed in this place that you're walking in right now. But like, they showed us like the gaps where they used to drop the gas canisters from. But yeah, now that was probably the coolest experience, like, in a weird way, because it is like what you hear about the most, you know, the fucking gas chambers, you know, the showers, oh, you're going for a shower type of thing, you know, the boy in the striped pajamas literally ended in the gas chamber. It is one of the first things people think about when they think about the Holocaust. And now, about the main camp. Really, there was not too much, especially compared to the first one. There wasn't too much, because most of it, the Germans blew up. They tried to get rid of the evidence, they tried burning documents, they burned down buildings and stuff like that, like the little log cabins and everything that they used to fit like hundreds upon hundreds of fucking prisoners in. And we were brought into this one place that used to hold a lot of women, and like, this building was horrific, man. It was so bad. Like, they had like small little bits of hay. It was like kind of bunk beds in a way, weirdly. You had the top bunk, you had the middle bunk, and then you had somebody who slept on the floor. There was gaps in the windows and stuff like that, so whenever it was winter, fucking snow was blowing in on top of the people. It was wild. It was a wild experience. But like, that was pretty much it for that camp. Like, we just got shown a few of those houses. Weirdly enough, we seen a furnace or whatever it was with a Volkswagen logo on it, which was fucking crazy. But yeah, that was it for Auschwitz. It was kind of crazy. I do want to finish it on a positive note, because he told us a story that made me feel very good. So basically, outside the first camp that I was talking about, right outside, is where the general used to live, the very top of the camp. He used to live there with his family, and one of his daughters were actually born in the concentration camp. And according to sources and all that stuff, he was a very good family man. He was a very good father. He took great care of his family. And then, by day, he would go out and ruthlessly murder people. Like, brutally fucking, like, monster. I mean, evil fucking prick. He was directly responsible for pretty much most of the fucking decisions made in that camp. But basically, after the war ended, he fled. He fled the country, he fled to somewhere else. But the cherry on top here is a very big cherry. He was tracked down, found, and he was brought back to Auschwitz to be hung, which is the biggest load of karma I've ever seen in my life. We actually saw the place he was hung at, and I have never loved a fucking podium more in my life. This man was hung and killed while facing the fucking camp that he took so many people's lives at. Oh, the fucking irony in that, bro, is enough to make a man cream himself. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that nonetheless. I know it was a bit different. It was a lot more depressing than my usual things. But I just kind of wanted to sit down and talk about my experience at this place. It's just something that I've always been interested in, and when I seen it, I knew I needed to talk about it. But honestly, if you guys are ever interested in visiting this place, you really fucking should. There was a lot, and I mean a lot, that I left out because I didn't want to ruin it for you. It is such an interesting tour. It is very long and taxing. But I do have one thing that I'm curious about. If you guys are German, please let me know down in the comments if this is true. But my mate told me when we were on this trip that apparently it is mandatory for people in schools over in Germany to go and visit Auschwitz. I don't know, it sounds kind of cruel to be honest. If you're a German, please let me know if this is true, and if it is, please let me know what your experience going through this place was like for you. So I'm curious, let me know what your experience was, and if you aren't, if you're Jewish and all that stuff, please let me know what your experience was in the place as well, and same for everybody who has ever experienced this place. So yeah, anyway, with that all said, I hope you enjoyed. Hopefully this video's legal. I don't think they ever said not to put up a video of you know, the camp or any videos you took. I'm pretty sure there was just like 2 selected locations you weren't allowed to film, but even so, as I said, didn't want to, you know, ruin the whole thing on you guys. But if this video gets taken down, you know why. I'm going to jail. I'll talk to you all in the next one. It's been EXO, and I'll talk to you all later. Have a good one.